Um, all right, so I'll give you a rundown of the props that we use. I have my little tiny little flat pillow. I also have a little blankie, and you can have a blankie or you can have a bath towel will work just fine. I have a bolster. I do not expect other people to own bolsters, um, but if you have one, that's great. If you do not, then maybe if you have a lumbar pillow, maybe if you have just a bed pillow, perfectly fine. I also have two blocks. Um, I also don't expect you to have two blocks. You could use books of the same size. That will help. I also have a strap. So um, if you don't have a strap, you can use a bathrobe, tie, or a belt, or whatever, what have you. And also, all of these things are optional. We'll be able to do a lot of the poses without the props, but I have them because I love them. So, all right, to get started, we're going to do some integration work. And that just means we're going to give ourselves a little bit of time to bring our mind and our body together. So we can start in a couple of ways. You can start seated. You could start reclining. I love to start on my back with my knees bent and my feet on the floor. That's open to you. Sometimes it can feel kind of oppressive to have to sit still right at the beginning of class in a seated position. So perhaps lying down is going to feel better. I'm about to spotlight my video here for all of you beautiful people. There we go. Okay. All right. So if you're seated and you've got your props, your blocks, or your books, or what have you, you can slide them underneath your knees, and that's going to help. That's going to help give you a little bit of support to release the hip muscles, and it's also going to keep those of us who are hypermobile from overly releasing and then misaligning our sacrum. So it helps everybody. If you're on your back, you can use a blankie. You could use 17 blankies. Go wild. Okay. Now, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. If you do not feel comfortable closing your eyes, that's totally cool. You just keep them open. And no matter if eyes are open or closed, we're going to release some of the tension in our eyes. So with all of these things, if you don't understand what I'm saying, I'm going to give you like kind of an option to tense up the muscles, and so that you know what muscles I'm talking about, and then an option to release them. All right, so imagine you're looking really hard at something, like laser beam eyes, like super intense, and you feel all those muscles around your eye, around the socket, and then behind the eyes. We're going to see if we can offer a little bit of ease there, right? So even with the eyes closed, you can do that. I'm just going to fiddle with where the camera is. Y'all just be patient. And I did forget to make my disclaimer that there's a snoring French bulldog right next to me. So if you hear any strange noises, that's what it is. Take a couple of just deeper breaths, kind of breaths of relief, like you made it. Take a couple of breaths, just, phew, we did it. You got here. Now, I wanted to go through some of the major muscle groups, just the major areas of tension before we come back to the face. So the first one is shoulders. Wherever you are, maybe you got to wiggle the shoulders a little bit to say, hello, shoulders. Now is the time when we relax. If they're able to relax a little bit, you might feel a little bit of meltiness. If they are resistant to relaxing, that's okay, right? There's no failure here. All you do is you just say hi to it. Say, hello, tension in my shoulders. I recognize you. I see you. And if you have that internal dialogue that happens where you're like, I see you, tension in the shoulders, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to fix you. I'm going to encourage you to leave off that second part. No fixing, just hello. And then next, we'll bring our awareness to our hips, our amazing hips. They hold so much tension, right? So many layers of muscle. So just direct your awareness there, whether you're seated or reclining, and just greet them. Like you're offering up just a little bit of space, just the teensiest bit of space. I see you. I see that you're tense. I see that there's tightness. I see that there's resistance, and it's okay. Be as beautifully welcoming as you can be. There we go. Next, we're going to bring awareness back up to the face. One of the major impediments to a big sense of relaxation is that our muscles of social engagement tend to get really locked up, right? Especially for, the idea of like putting on a brave face, a facade, like a mask you show the world, right? Our face gets locked in that. So let's see what we can do. We're going to offer up some space and some ease there. Start at the top of your head, like somebody did the old egg cracking. And you feel that awareness down the scalp, around the ears, down the back of the head, down to the neck, and wherever you would feel that magical egg cracking situation. You offer space. You go back to the eyes and you readdress the muscles of the eyes. You say hello to them. Hello, how are you, eyes? Are you still at ease or have you become tense? And then you're going to offer space there. You're going to offer some reassurance. And that's going to bring you to your nose. So imagine you're like, you have to smell something, right? What's that smell? Do I need to be worried about it? What is it? And all the muscles that tense up, the nostrils, across the bridge of the nose to the cheeks, those can go off duty. And broadening out across the cheeks, the place where, right, if you're always trying to smile and look approachable and pleasant, right, your customer service face, as it were, all of those muscles, you can start to let them chill out a little bit. And then notice, well, draw an energetic line from one ear to the other through your head. And all along that line, notice how when you hear something far away, right, you're trying to discern if there's a noise you're supposed to be concerned about. What is that? Feel how all of that tenses up all along that line. And then offer it some space. Offer it some ease. Remember, if they don't want the ease right now, if the muscles won't relax, that's okay. Don't get into a fight. Just say, I see you. I see you've got some tension there. Now, notice your tongue. Is your tongue pressed against the roof of your mouth? If it is, let it sink down into the lower jaw. And then you could use your tongue for this. You're going to check out the roof of your mouth. The front of the roof of your mouth is your hard palate. The back is a soft palate. And sometimes when we get stuck in oh, aren't you interesting? Tell me more about the thing, right? We lift the back of the soft palate. And sometimes we get stuck like that. That's also, we get stuck in kind of surprise and the roof stays up. So maybe if you're able to, allow the soft palate to drop back down. Now, connected to the cheeks and the ears, you've got these muscles in the jaw, and perhaps they've already started to release a little bit. And this is something we fight against. We kind of culturally don't want to walk around in the world with our jaw hanging open. So a lot of us shut it and we keep it shut. And then a lot of us clench the jaw. So you may have to touch the muscles in the jaw to encourage them to relax a little bit. And if you notice that the jaw is like, holy buckets, feel these muscles, they're so tight, that's okay. Maybe there's a little release to be had. Maybe today's beautiful gift is just an awareness of that. All right, I'm not looking at you, so your jaw can get as slack as you need it to. And you can let those bottom teeth fall away from the upper teeth. And then the tongue is not just settling in the lower jaw, but from the tip of the tongue all the way down the throat, you've got a very strong muscle that we could offer some ease to. Now, the next beautiful piece of all of this is aligning your head over your spine. For a lot of us, especially if we have anxiety or stress, we sit in this is an exaggerated version of it, but we sit in a chin forward posture. So we want to think about lengthening the back of the neck, like we're taking the ridge at the back of the skull further from the shoulders. And that's going to bring our head a little bit more in line over the spine. And that's going to facilitate a little bit of ease in the jaw as well. When we practice today, I want you to notice if there's a point at which your face kind of freezes, right? It goes back into the customer service face. And if you can come back into that sense of ease, then that's going to help make the rest of yoga a little bit more easeful, okay? So we'll just revisit that occasionally. Now, if you're on your back, I want you to take another couple of breaths. If you're seated, I also want you to breathe. Once you've had a couple of breaths and you're reclining, you're going to make your way over to your side, and then you'll come up to seated. Those of us at seated, we're just going to maybe do any wiggling around that we need to do to feel comfortable with the next phase of being seated. You're welcome to sit crisscross applesauce. You're also welcome to sit in Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together, knees wide, whatever suits you. The first thing I want you to check in with is your chin. When you get there, has your chin popped forward? Mine always does. So I'm always reminding myself, right? Like your chin's that little kitchen drawer, and you're just scooching it back in a little bit to broaden out. So now, since we've been stationary a while, let's start with cat-cows. So I'm going to grab a hold of my knees because I like to do that. Some folks like to grab the shins. Some folks don't like to grab it all. And we're going to press down into the bum bones and lift the heart up and breathe in. And then exhale. Exhale everything, and then let your belly scooch towards your spine, and you'll round back and then press down. Inhale, broaden through the heart and the shoulders, and then exhale. And you get to keep on going through, keep cycling between inhales and exhales, between cows and cats. Do it according to your own breathing, according to your own pace. And then let's return to a seated position, and we'll just take little circles with the heart to mobilize the thoracic. So your thoracic spine, collarbones to belly button, solar plexus area. It's like you're trying to circle your ribs. Keep your sitting bones rooted in. Notice if you like to rock a lot side to side, and we're trying to eliminate that and keep the movement in the thoracic spine. Obviously, your belly moves a little bit because that's just what it does. Go the other direction. And then one more. Come back to neutral, back to center. Realign the spine, check the neck, the head, and then we're going to tip forward into a seated forward fold. And those of y'all who are familiar with that, go for it. Those of you who need a little more guidance, you're just going to push into the bum bones so that the pelvis tips forward just a smidge. And then you're going to lengthen the belly button toward the shins, and then you're going to take the heart toward the floor in front of you. And the neck follows along, right? So if I'm looking forward like this, I'm in a chin forward posture. So I want to lengthen the back of the neck. If you want a little bit more oomph in your stretch, you can use your fingers. You can plant like your fingers down like little lizard fingers and lengthen the spine forward. Keep on breathing. Just keep adjusting the camera. Oh. I don't know if y'all have noticed, there's a special guest star over here, a stuffed seal. How nice. And then to rise back up from this, after a full exhale, scooch the belly in toward the spine and then rise on up to seated. Shoulders are soft, hopefully. So let's circle the shoulders a little bit. Take left fingers to the left shoulder and just gentle little circles with the elbow. While you're doing this, the thing that is always a challenge for me is that I love to move my shoulder with my neck muscle. But that's not what it's really there for. We want to concentrate on engaging the muscles that wrap around underneath the shoulder and around the side of the body. So I'm simultaneously thinking soft neck and engaged side body. Reverse the direction. And then bring that arm back down and go to the second side, right side. So right fingertips to the right shoulder, gentle circles. I'm so glad that that Pippa, the dog, is here snoring away, because she really does honestly remind me to breathe, because sometimes I'll be thinking and I'll be holding my breath. So if that's you, you're not alone. I do it all the time. Reverse direction. Neck is soft, side body is engaged. And release that side down. Now we'll do the famous eye and neck moves, okay? So this is great for calming the nervous system. Those of us who might have a little stress, this might be very good for you. So what we will do first is we will look down to the right with our eyes. And remember, you're looking softly down to the right. No laser beam eyes necessary, just gently. And then you'll take the right ear toward the right shoulder. And when you get there, I want you to notice if your chin is popped forward. If it has, congratulate yourself on being a human. And then a little expansion at the back of the neck. And we're looking down to the right with soft eyes. You can always bring to mind something that warms your heart, something that brings you joy. Take a couple of really lovely full breaths. Give yourself that nourishment, that air. Oh, there it goes, everybody. Hooray. Oh, the secret to this is that if you yawn or you have a sigh, then this is working and your nervous system is starting to regulate a bit. Everybody take a solid breath in and a full breath out and release the chin to the chest and pause there. And then float the head back up. Next, you're going to look down to your left with your eyes, and left ear moves toward the left shoulder, and you'll check to see if the chin is forward. Keep the space at the back of the neck. Just look down to the left gently, like you're looking at something you love. Like you also are looking at a small therapy dog. I hope you catch it, everybody. The more you practice this, the more, the quicker the yawns and the sighs will come. Okay, so you're not losing if you're not yawning or sighing. It's just a thing that happens with time. Now we'll breathe in and then exhale and release the chin toward the chest. And let's do some gentle ear to shoulder, chin to chest, ear to shoulder. And you're not forcing anything. We're just moving through the range of motion as best we can. And we'll stop chin to chest and then lift the head back up. Next, we will look up to the left and take the right ear toward the right shoulder. Right, like you're looking at something. It's just a lovely picture right up here to the left of something you love, something that warms the heart. And then release the chin. Lift the head up. Look up to the right. Left ear, left shoulder. Slow and steady breathing. Remember, those of us who need a little bit more calm, a little bit more down regulation of our nervous system, your exhales are going to be longer than your inhales. Okay? Those of us who are like, just barely got here today, very little energy, your inhales might be longer than your exhales. Okay, it's whether or not you're recharging your system or you're expelling extra energy. Now we'll drop the chin to the chest and bring the head back up. One more beautiful thing for the neck and the shoulders. Take your left hand and place it on your right shoulder at the collarbone. And you're going to press down into the collarbone, not into the shoulder joint, which is a dainty little joint, but on the collarbone. And then the chin, you're going to turn it over to the left and then a little bit up, just a smidgy bit up, until you feel this bonkers muscle in the side of your neck called your scalene. If you don't know what your scalene is, if you're feeling something stretch in your neck, then you did it. Good work. Release that side. Release any efforting that you were doing. And then take your right hand and place it on your left shoulder, left collarbone. Press down into the collarbone, right, gently, not to an 11. You're turning it way down. You're not trying to take your collarbone out of your body. You're just pushing it down. And then you'll turn your chin to the right and fiddle around a little bit. Tip it up just slightly until you can feel the side, the left side of your neck. And release back to neutral. Now I'm going to come a little bit closer to the screen because I'm going to show you what we're going to do. I'm going to teach you a little trick. Some of you already know this. When we clench our jaw and we have a lot of tension in our face, it can feel really good to take your little fingers and give yourself a little jaw, like when you clench your jaw and you've got these little muscles that pop out inside of your face, you can give yourself like a little finger walk along these muscles. And then, surprise, it can feel really good to walk them along your jawbone. My fingers look like spiders, but okay. And next, I'm going to take my thumbs underneath the jaw, right to the inside of the jawbone. It's kind of hard to talk when I'm doing this. You may start to feel knots underneath your jaw. Those are knots. Those are muscle knots. If this is the first time you've ever explored underneath your jaw, don't take your thumbs and just like stab, because it can get very sore the first few times you work through this. So you're just, if you find like a sweet spot you want to focus on, you can like kind of gently get in there. Just be interested about what you find. Okay. And one last thing for the beautiful face. We're going to take our fingertips, our index fingers, to the inside, to the inner edges of the eyes. And you see when I drop my finger, this is very strange. When you kind of lengthen your fingers down, we're going to give ourselves a little massage that goes from like where your little tears would come out, down alongside the bridge of the nose. And then right where your laugh lines are from your nostrils, down, very strange looking, down alongside the mouth. Maybe do that a couple of times. And if you find any really tense spots, you just take a little note of that. And this is a really good tool to use when you get really stressed, because that can calm you right down. Okay. All right, lovely humans. Now we've been seated for a long time in crisscross applesauce. Let's extend the legs. If you have a bolster or you have a pillow, this is going to be a good time to put it underneath the knees to keep you from hyperextending. I always have my heels down and my toes up. That's a good alignment marker. And then I have a little extra in the behind. And so I reach around and kind of pull my bum cheeks back so that I can really feel my sitting bones in connection with the ground or the blanket underneath me. Now we're going to take a slow forward fold. And I'm encouraging you to stay where the interesting part of this stretch is, not where you think you need to be. So the interesting part of the stretch for me today is right here. I can just hang out and feel my hamstrings. Some of y'all will come even further into this. Maybe some of y'all who have a lot of flexibility will come down. If you have a lot of flexibility, I don't want you to go to the end of your range of motion, because some of us have too much flexibility. So dial it back a bit. You can drop your chin towards your chest. You can let your head hang. You can close your eyes. This is an excellent time to check in with your face as well. How is the face? Do you have that has that mask come back. Sometimes I think of that as my working with others face. Yes. When I'm by myself, my face is a lot more relaxed, but that's a real introvert's real introvert statement. To rise back up, take a big breath in, a full exhale, and then scooch the belly button in and come back up, rise back up to seated. We're going to do a little hip and leg opener and back opener. Slide your bolster or your pillow underneath your right leg. Take your left foot into the bolster. So I've got my preventative measure underneath my knee. Now I'm going to take my block and I'm going to put my block underneath my knee. Those of us with a lot of mobility could really get all the way to the ground, but that's not necessarily the best thing for all of our joints. Okay, now we'll do the same thing. Come into a gentle forward fold here. Drop your head if you choose. You can also rest your head in your hands. You can also rest your chin in your hands, whatever feels the most supportive and safe for you. After your next inhale and then full exhale, belly scooches in and you get to float back up to seated, and we'll do the other leg. So I'm going to slide my bolster, boop, bop, boop, over here, bump it into my dog. Sorry, Pippa. And right foot tucks in. Now, I always say this, but it's very helpful to remember. So this side of my body needs way more support in the knee than my other side does. So please feel free to take, each side is different. Okay. And then once you're settled, you come into a forward fold and stay where the interesting part is, right? Not the part that's causing you anxiety, but the part that's like, oh, how interesting that this muscle feels very stretchy today. How interesting that I'm feeling something new here. Or how interesting that I can only fold forward half of an inch today. Who knows? Life shows up for us all in such amazingly different ways that the way your body is arriving today is it's a good marker of what you've done and what you've experienced. The dog snoring is reaching a high level. And now to rise up, that big exhale and a little belly lift, and you'll come all the way back up. And then we're going to do an extended leg with a twist, okay? So this is a little bit more complicated to come into. My bolster is still right here. I'm going to extend my right leg, and the bolster is going to be from my right leg out to the left. And then I'm going to bring my left leg in thusly, so my foot is on the floor. And for some of us, sitting upright and hanging onto the shin is plenty. Thank you. This is perfect. For some of us, we will cross the foot over to the outside of the right leg. And right, if you just rounded forward, recommit to sitting up. For a lot of us, we will feel a big stretch in the outside of the left leg and we'll say, thank you, that's plenty. For some of us, we'll say, no, thank you, I would like a little bit more. And I use my left hand on my heart to do just a gentle turn over to the left. And then maybe stay right here. Maybe right arm, right elbow hooks around the knee. Maybe left hand comes behind you. Maybe you look a little bit over to your left. The things that we want to look for, whether or not we've rounded in the back. If you've rounded in the back, press more into the bum bones, and then have you shot your chin forward. If you have, let that be expansive. Let the back of your neck be more expansive. Oh, good place to check in with the face. How are you looking? How are you gazing to your left? What's your face doing? And then bring yourself back to the center. You can keep your legs as they are and just turn your heart over to the right a smidgy and then come back. And we will do a switcheroo. So slide that old bolster way over towards your right, but it's still under your left leg. First stop, you could have right foot down and you can just work on lengthening through the spine. Second step, you can cross the right foot over and you could just stay here experiencing some opening on the outside of the right leg. Step 3, maybe the hand comes to the heart to help remind you which part of your body is actually twisting. It's the thoracic spine, right? So we're just shining the heart over to the right a little bit. Next step, hook the arm, maybe take the right hand behind you and gaze gently out to your right. The same thing is true in every pose, right? Look and scan where you're holding tension. Perhaps if you're holding tension, like right here, if my face was holding a lot of tension, that would kind of be excessive tension. My face is not required for this. So I could soften in the face. Maybe one foot is like really tense and I could maybe soften a foot. Soften the jaw. The shoulders are not required to be by my ears in this, so I could allow them to chill out. And then you get to release back to neutral and take a tiny little twist over to your left. Maybe you have a little spine pop going on. You never know. Now from here, we will move the bolster out of the way. See you later, bolster. And we will all come down and onto the back. For this next part of the class, excuse me, I have my strap nearby and I have my blocks nearby. If you need a little assistance getting down on the ground, I always hold my head and do a roll, and then I put my feet down. I'm just gonna make sure you can see me. One moment, please. One moment, please. When you're down on the earth, you get to do a check-in with your shoulders because you have them still. And if they've shot up toward the ceiling, allow them to chill out onto the ground. Bring my little legs down. I want you to pause and I want you to roll from side to side with your hips, just a smidgy, and feel the back of your pelvis. I can always feel like there's a lot of tension at the back of my pelvis where everything is trying to hold my sacrum in place. So maybe just rolling through there, giving yourself a little extra input. And now we're going to do the world's most amazing gut yoga. We're going to kind of like you're doing a hula hoop, but on the ground. So just really get those hips going side to side. And what we're trying to do is release the belly, release all the tension, all the, I'm not the only person who walks through life kind of sucking it in. So allowing all those muscles to try and release. Vigorous hula hooping on the ground. And then come back to stillness. Take a couple of breaths, see if you can let some of that energy you just shook up like settle down in the tummy. Before we do the next stuff, we're going to release a little bit more through the tummy. So I'm going to press into my feet and I'm going to lift my hips and scooch them over to my right, just a couple inches. Now I'm going to roll to my left. And yes, hello, it is I. You can use a block underneath your head as a pillow. And what we're doing, this is the part of the class that where I remember what I looked like when I was pregnant, because we're going to just let the tummy flop, let the entire tummy flop out to the left. And then it's kind of interesting. You could like jiggle your tummy around. You could like, I'm always like, hello, tummy, how are you? Like, just sounds so strange, but you can kind of poke yourself a little bit in the belly and see where you're storing some tension. And you might be surprised. Like I found a nice spot right here. And give yourself a little wiggle, and then it just feels like I'm pregnant again. You can hold on to your guts kind of and wiggle them a little bit. I know this is very strange, but you're gonna be very surprised at how much tension we hold in our tummy. Whew. And then roll onto your other side. So to do that, you're going to make your way back and onto your back first, and then you'll re-square everything. So you gotta take your hips and put them in line with your knees and your shoulders, and then lift them up, scooch them over to the left, and roll over to your right. And you'll do the same thing on your right side. To the best of your ability, you will allow the belly to relax, and then you could give yourself, just be like, huh, who knew I had such tight muscles right in my guts? It's true, you do. One thing that can be really awesome if you are discovering that this is, that you're really responding to this, is they make these little like squishy balls. I can't remember. Oh, shoot. I can't remember what they're called. I'll figure it out. And you can like put them underneath your belly and roll on them, and that it feels very, very good. So you're just checking things out, seeing if you can release some of the tension, see if you can give your glorious belly a little wiggle. Now we're doing this first because we're about to constructively engage the muscles of the belly. To do that, guess what? We're going to go back onto the back. So we're going to roll down all the way onto the back and then pause here. If it feels appropriate, you could do a little vigorous hula hooping just to see what's happening, and then come back to stillness. Notice if your tummy feels any different. Then we're going to consciously engage the muscles of the belly. You can imagine you're bringing the belly button toward the floor a bit. You could lift the pelvic floor. So you do a little mula bandha, contraction and lifting. And then we're going to lift and lower the right leg. So we'll lift it up, little air chair. Breathe out, belly engages, put it down. Slow motion. Breathe in, breathe out, belly engages. Slow motion, bring the left leg up. Pause, breathe in, breathe out. All that glorious tummy, conscious engagement. Breathe in at the bottom. Breathe out. Belly button in, pelvic floor lifts, right leg comes up. Pause, breathe in, breathe out, and engage, and float the leg down. And then same last thing on the other side. Real conscious direction to the tummy. Lift the leg up, breathe in, Breathe out. Engagement, and float it back down. Now pause when you're down and see if you can relax the muscles you just engaged. Kind of trying to teach certain muscles how to turn off because they've been clenched for a long time. Now, the last thing we're going to do is the hard part. We're going to take the hands underneath the pelvis, the back of the pelvis. I make like a little triangle with my finger and my thumb because then it doesn't hurt. It doesn't squash my fingers. And so I'm supporting my pelvis, which is going to help engage the low belly. And we're going to do both of the legs at once. Slowest motion. Breathe in at the top. Breathe out at the bottom or at the top. Lots of tummy. Slowly bring them back down. Pause. One last time. Uddiyana Bandha, so belly button, and Mula Bandha, pelvic floor. Bring the legs, both the legs up to that air chair. Breathe in. Breathe out. Re-engage the support and float them both down. Toes touch down. The rest of the foot touches down. Take the hands out from underneath the low back, and you could knock your knees in toward one another. If you want to release the tension a little bit more, you could do a jelly belly hula hoop if you want. Move the belly side to side. Okay, I am seeing what time it is, and I am surprised. So let's do one thing with the strap, and you can do this without a strap too. I will give you both options. I'm going to bring my right foot up, and I'm going to loop the strap around the foot, and I'm going to keep the leg right above the hip. Those of us who don't like straps are going to use hands, and you could lace the hands behind the thigh. And all we're doing is we're holding in place. And those of you who are newer are going to be like, oh, but well, look, I can pull really far. And that's not what we're doing. We're just concentrating on allowing the weight of the leg to land in the hip. Just allowing the muscles to release enough so that the leg can really thunk down, land in the hip. You can get that sense of connection, get that joint input. I'm also, I'm not straining on the strap. I've just kind of wound the strap through my fingers, and then I've let my arms just blob out. So my shoulders are chilled out, and all I'm concentrating on, letting that leg be like, what if all of a sudden my leg bones were made out of like really heavy metal? I don't know what kind of metal is heavy. Gold is heavy. I have golden leg bones, and they're very heavy, and they're going to land in my hip. You may begin to feel like your hip is a little bit more connected to the earth. You may begin to feel that your hips are broadening a little bit. Yes, good. That's great news. This is another great time to check in on your face and to check in on your chin. If your chin is up, lengthen the back of the neck. You can let your jaw go slack. To switch sides, beautiful people, I'm going to use my tummy and then bring the left foot up, switch. If you're not using the strap, obviously it's a little bit easier. You can just do a switcheroo. And then same thing on this side. Everything is heavy right now. Shoulders are heavy, belly is heavy. Belly is so heavy it's settling in toward the back of the body. The leg bone, you have golden leg bones, and they're landing heavily in the hip. The hip is landing heavily on the earth. My cheeks are starting to feel kind of heavy. Maybe the forehead feels a little heavy and broad. Maybe the ears start to feel like they're getting closer to the earth. The entire body might start to feel a little broader, a little more connected to the ground, kind of like you're that magical third pancake that just like blobs out on the griddle perfectly. That's good news. To come out of this side, since I have a strap, I'm just going to release the strap and put it off to the side. Goodbye, strap. And then gently bend the knee and support the foot as it comes all the way down. Support the leg with the tummy and pause. Now, the last thing we're going to do before we move to Shavasana is restorative bridge. So I've got my 2 blocks. This is where it's important that if you have books instead of blocks, that they be the same size. Otherwise, you can use a pillow or your bolster. And I push down and lift the bum. And I put both blocks under on the lowest setting, and they're running parallel to my spine. So I'm maximizing the amount of space that's being supported on the block. Now, those of us who've got wider hips, this can feel way more supportive than one block. Okay, and that's what we're going for. We're also going for heavy belly. So this is the beginning of the end. We're winding into Shavasana. So let yourself be heavy, blobbed out a little bit. All that energy, that forward facing energy, especially in the tummy and the face, grounding down, sinking into the earth. When you're ready, when you feel like you've had enough of this and you're ready to move to Shavasana, you can. Some of y'all are going to be like, no, I want to stay in this longer. And please, you can. You can stay in this as long as you want. Those of you who are going to move to Shavasana are going to lift the hips and slide the props out and then roll down. And then you can take as many supports as you can. I always love to have something underneath my knees, so that helps my low back stay happy. You could wrap yourself up in a blanket. You could lay down on your side if that feels better. You could not take Shavasana at all, and you could stay seated. So it's to choose your own adventure, and you get to choose the adventure that's right for you and your energy and your body right now. I fully encourage it. I'm just going to pull the camera a little closer. And I am going to disappear for a couple of moments while you all rest. I will mute myself and I will be back, lovely people. All right, my lovely souls, you're going to take a couple of deep breaths before you even begin to move. And when you start to move, take it slowly and move over onto a side. And then roll your way up to seated. When you get here, you could keep your eyes closed. Eyes could be open. Hands can be a heart center if you choose. They can rest in your lap if you choose. Thank you all for being here and being present and being a part of this community. Thank you for being your glorious selves and shining such a beautiful light for everyone else in this group, for everyone watching this, for me. I appreciate you all so very much. I end class with 3 thank yous and a deep bow of gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I bow to each one of you. Now, if you would like to, you can unmute yourself. You could say hi. I'm also sending the donation information in the chat if that's something you're into. Thank you all.
Thanks, Ruthie.
Big love, everybody. Thank you so much. And I will be here on Thursday.
Really?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yay.
I'll be here. So
thank you for doing it on Thursday.
You're welcome. I understand. I know it's a weird year and we need it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Okay, big love, everybody.
Yeah, love
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Love you all.